On the day of my coming-of-age ceremony, while intoxicated, my virtue was taken by a destitute scholar who was boarding and studying at our estate. My father and mother were furious and hastily married me off. Only my eldest sister added to my dowry, saying with tears in her eyes, "If you face any difficulties in the future, just come to me for help." Everyone praised her kind heart, saying that although she was the fake young mistress, she was a true noble lady nurtured by the Yong'an Marquis household for many years. That year, my sister married high into the Prince Jing estate, while I, the true young mistress, humiliatingly married into the scholar's thatched hut. 3 years later, I was tortured by the scholar until I was afflicted with a severe illness, and I fled back to the capital to beg my eldest sister for relief. At that time, she was dressed in luxurious clothing, her face radiant with glory, leaning into the embrace of her husband, who had already become the crown prince. Seeing that I was on the verge of death from illness, she actually mocked me, saying, "Does my younger sister still not know? On the day of your coming-of-age ceremony, it was only after you drank the wine I handed you that you became unbearably hot and were enticed into bed by that scholar. You are the true young mistress. If you were to reach your coming-of-age ceremony and marry the crown prince, would such a grand marriage alliance ever fall to me? I had no choice but to use some methods. I died tragically with deep resentment, but when I opened my eyes again, I had actually returned to the day of my coming-of-age ceremony. My sister was currently offering me a toast with a beaming smile. She did not yet know that this cup of wine would become the passion-inducing wine between my brother-in-law and me. An aphrodisiac poison had been placed in the wine. Once this poison entered the mouth, a woman would turn limp like spring water, while a man would burst with animalistic desire. If they did not relieve it in time, their blood would flow backward, causing death. My sister was very clever. She had dipped the poison onto the rim of the cup. In our past life, after she offered the toast, she smashed the cup, leaving no evidence to attest to the crime. Therefore, the first thing I did upon returning through rebirth was to take advantage of the crowd to swap her cup. Then, I guided her to offer the second cup of wine to Prince Jing, Qi Mingshuan. Qi Mingshuan was the future crown prince, my sister's beloved, and furthermore, my prospective brother-in-law. I drank her wine right in front of my sister, while that cup of wine truly laced with the lustful poison actually entered Prince Jing's mouth. A quarter of an hour later, in a wing room of the backyard, having avoided everyone to come to the garden alone to sober up, His Highness Prince Jing stumbled and fell into my embrace. As expected, his breathing was rapid, and his entire body was burning hot, exactly the same as the symptoms I experienced when drugged in my past life. I proactively threw myself into his arms, and Prince Jing, as if a heater had embraced a block of ice, not only refused to let go, but immediately stripped off his robes and loosened his belt, wishing to press his skin against mine. The most terrifying aspect of the lustful poison was none other than its ability to make a dignified prince cast aside all dignity and decorum, succumbing to the most primitive desires. Yet, I remained clear-headed throughout, guiding him into the wing room beside the garden so as to avoid another man who might come looking for me. The moment we entered the room, Prince Jing completely lost his reason, leaning over to press me beneath him, and actually called out a name indistinctly against my face, saying, "Mingrong?" Shen Mingrong was my sister's name. Before I was recognized and brought back, Shen Mingrong, as the only legitimate daughter of a first-rank great general, was able to enter the palace to serve as a study companion to the princes. During her time as a study companion, she exhausted her schemes just to secure a mutual affection between Prince Jing and herself. My sister loved Prince Jing to death, and Prince Jing also liked my sister in his heart. In my past life, I had always regarded Prince Jing as my prospective brother-in-law, and never thought about competing with my sister for a man using my status as the true young mistress. Now, I sweetly accommodated my prospective brother-in-law's fierce, wolf and tiger-like offensive. In this lifetime, I would not only seize back everything that belonged to me, but I would also snatch away my sister's most beloved man. My sister would never have imagined that the cup of wine she handed to me would become the passion-inducing wine between my prospective brother-in-law and me. After a fierce battle lasting an hour, Qi Mingshuan, under the effect of the wine, fell into a brief period of satiety and unconsciousness. At this moment, his body was flushed with a crimson glow, and his chest and neck were covered entirely in my ambiguous bite marks. I admired the masterpiece I had left upon my prospective brother-in-law's body. The last time I had scrutinized this man in such precise detail was back in that cold winter of my past life. At that time, dragging a body covered in festering sores, I fled to the capital and knocked on the gates of the Crown Prince estate. 3 years ago, I had married down to the destitute scholar Lin Zimo, while my sister married high into the Prince Jing estate. 3 years later, I escaped from the scholar's hands, dragging a pair of crippled legs and bearing a body full of syphilitic spots, entering the capital in utter wretchedness to beg for help. Meanwhile, my sister had risen along with Prince Jing, becoming the incomparably noble crown princess. The moment my sister saw me, she shrank her nose into her snow-white fox fur coat, asking, "What kind of dirty disease has my younger sister contracted?" As she dodged in fear, Qi Mingxuan stood by her side, wrapping his large hand around her to hold her tightly in his embrace, staring at me vigilantly as he questioned his subordinate. Where did this beggar come from, daring to offend the crown princess? I stared blankly at this man. Qi Mingxuan wore a black and gold python robe, a golden crown binding his ink-black hair, and a jade belt wrapping around his slender waist, looking so pure and noble it was dazzling. Why was my sister able to marry such an incomparably noble, gentle, and considerate husband, while I had to accept my fate and marry down to a destitute scholar who loved gambling and lust? Clearly, I was the true young mistress of the Marquis household, and my sister was merely the fake young mistress deliberately swapped by the wet nurse. When I was found and brought back to the Marquis household from the outside, Shen Mingrong had already spent 18 years as the legitimate daughter of the Marquis household. On the day I entered the estate, she held a candied hawthorn stick, cautiously trying to please me, saying, "Sister, can you please not drive me away?" As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes, and the gaze my father and mother directed at me carried a hint of subtle reproach. The magpie's nest had been usurped by a cuckoo. Now that the magpie had returned, the other birds in the nest were all afraid of neglecting that cuckoo. Just like at this very moment, my sister remained the noble lady surrounded by a crowd like stars cupping the moon, while I was covered in wretchedness, no different from a beggar. Without waiting for the subordinate's reply, my sister spoke up to explain. "Your Highness, this is my younger sister, Shen Mingxi, who married far away to Changzhou, the very one who, 3 years ago, got drunk at her coming-of-age ceremony and fooled around with a scholar." Only then did Qi Mingxuan understand. "Your Highness may go inside. I will settle my younger sister." Qi Mingxuan did not ask too much. He tucked Shen Mingrong's fox fur coat closer and softly instructed, "It's cold outside, don't stay too long." Shen Mingrong responded bashfully. Only after the crown prince's figure had completely vanished into the garden did Shen Mingrong, supported by her maidservant, walk down the steps, drawing close to me with a face full of concern, asking, "How could my younger sister contract this kind of dirty disease?" With tears in my eyes, I explained, "Sister, after Lin Zimo married me, he went to the brothels every night to seek out the top courtesans, spending all of my dowry within less than a year. He said he wanted to achieve imperial official titles, yet he spent every day in wild drinking and pleasure. Whenever he got drunk, he would beat me, and this pair of legs was broken by his beatings. He even brought back a body full of disease from the outside and gave it to me. In that place of Kangzhou, crying out to heaven brought no response, and calling out to the earth brought no answer." Trembling, I spread open my hands, and within my palms lay a patch of foul-smelling congealed blood, saying, "I could endure it no longer, so I smashed Lin Zimo's head open. Kangzhou County is issuing an arrest warrant for me, so I risked death to run back to the capital, yet my father and mother closed their doors and refused to see me. Sister said back then that if your younger sister ever found herself at the end of her rope, she could come to beg you for relief." I knelt down, grabbing Shen Mingrong's fox fur coat as I humbly wept and begged, "Sister, save me. Lin Zimo clearly deserved to die 10,000 times over. I do not want to pay for his life with mine." The syphilitic spots all over my body hurt so much, they are so filthy. I beg sister to find a doctor for me, help me right this wrong, and give me a path to live. Lin Zemo was a scholar who had been boarding and studying at the Marquis household. That year, when I got drunk at my coming-of-age ceremony, I muddledly had my virtue forced from me by Lin Zemo, and it was in broad daylight, in a pavilion with no cover whatsoever around, where we were caught in bed by the crowd. At that time, I had been recognized and brought back to the Marquis household for less than half a year. After this incident occurred, my marriage alliance was also hastily arranged by my furious father and mother. On the day I was married off, only Shen Mingrong added to my dowry. She held my hand and said, "Mingxi, if you find yourself at the end of your rope in the future, you can come to seek your sister for relief." Everyone praised Shen Mingrong for being beautiful and kind-hearted, saying, "Even if she is the fake young mistress, so what?" Nurtured by the Yong'an Marquis household for 16 years, she has long since become a true noble lady. I, too, believed that my sister was noble and kind, which was why I fought to return to the capital, begging her for a path to live. That plump face of hers indeed resembled the countenance of a bodhisattva, but suddenly the corners of her mouth curved up and her eyes turned cold, saying, "The reason I said those words back then was because I had long foreseen that your marriage to Lin Zemo would surely be a living death." I was stunned, asking, "Sister, what are you saying? Have you still not come to your senses?" Shen Mingrong drew close to my ear and said sinisterly, "Back then at the coming-of-age ceremony, that cup of wine your sister gave you was laced with a lustful poison. That was why you became unbearably hot and stripped yourself completely naked in the pavilion in broad daylight. And Lin Zemo was arranged by me from the very beginning. I had him wait in ambush in the rockery beside the pavilion for the right opportunity. Once you completely lost your reason, he would take advantage of your vulnerability to enter. Meanwhile, I would calculate the hour and bring all the guests along, catching you in your scandalous act at just the right moment. Thus on that day, every single person who attended your coming-of-age ceremony participated in catching the adultery, causing you, Shen Mingxi, to be utterly ruined from then on, ensuring you could never negotiate a good marriage alliance." "Well, why? Why?" Shen Mingrong suddenly grabbed my hair bun, saying, "The moment you returned, I became a laughingstock. Originally, I was the pearl held in the palms of my father and mother, but your appearance turned me into the cheapest fisheye. The coming-of-age ceremony father and mother gave you was truly grand. All the dignitaries and nobles of the entire imperial city came to show support. You snatched away the glory that originally belonged to me. Once a woman reaches her coming-of-age ceremony, her marriage can be negotiated, and father and mother would surely favor you, their biological daughter. If I did not use some methods, this grand marriage alliance with the Prince Jing estate would have become yours. Prince Jing has a limitless future. I spent so much painstaking effort just to make him look at me a few more times, yet the moment you appeared, everything was about to be ruined. I absolutely would not allow it. Do not blame me either. If a person does not look out for themselves, heaven and earth will destroy them. If I had not used those underhanded methods back then, the one with a wretched end today would have been me." Shen Mingrong burst into laughter, saying, "Fortunately, right now I am the crown princess, while you are a beggar woman." I stared with wide, terrified eyes. My wails were blocked in my throat, turning into a surge of foul blood that violently sprayed out. Shen Mingrong's fox fur was stained with my black blood, and she raised her foot to kick me down into the snow. Immediately following that, government soldiers surrounded me, and the prefect of the imperial city also arrived on the scene. Shen Mingxi murdered her husband in Kangzhou County and fled to the capital. Since ancient times, a life must be paid for with a life. Prefect Zhang, do not show favoritism or partiality. Prefect Zhang said, "Please provide explicit instructions, Crown Princess. Just let her pay with her life and be buried with her poor husband." Shen Mingrong. I roared with blood and tears, but my teeth were smashed to pieces by the government soldiers using bamboo slats. Shen Mingrong untied her stained fox fur coat and adjusted the crown princess phoenix crown upon her head, saying, "My younger sister, 20 years ago, I became the young mistress of the Marquis household in your stead. 20 years later, I became this crown princess in your stead. The fortune of your entire life is destined to be held within my hands. You, just accept your fate." Her laughter was crisp and piercing. My fury attacked my heart. The festering sores all over my body flared up, and I died tragically with deep resentment amidst agonizing pain. Before dying, I only saw the boundless snow falling upon the grand, towering layers of pavilions of the Crown Prince estate. If there was a next life, I would surely become the female master of this place and stomp everyone who harmed me beneath my feet. When I snapped back from the memories of my past life, Qi Mingshan had already awakened, his gaze gradually turning clear. Seeing clearly that the person beside his pillow was me, he choked my neck almost instantly, saying, "You dare to scheme against this prince?" I weakly struggled twice, exposing the bruises and red marks he had created upon my shoulders. No matter how one looked at it, I was the one who had been taken advantage of. Feeling guilty, Qi Mingshan released his hand, and I coughed violently twice, retorting, "I was resting in the wing room. It was your highness who was drunk, burst into the inner chamber, and did this to me? To me?" My shoulders trembled as I wept like pear blossoms in the rain. Qi Mingshan was left in the wrong by my crying. He supported his forehead, utterly perplexed, saying, "How is that possible? This prince has excellent tolerance for alcohol. I barely touched a few cups of wine today. But your highness was clearly so drunk your face was flushed with a crimson glow, and you lost all reason. No matter how I wept, screamed, and begged for mercy, it was of no use." Qi Mingshan quickly detected that something was amiss, asking, "Could it be that the wine was laced with drugs?" Pretending to be reminded by him, I reasoned in a seemingly proper manner, saying, "Today is my coming-of-age ceremony, and I also only drank 1 cup of wine, which was handed to me personally by my sister. I remember the last cup your highness drank was also wine handed over by sister. Could it be sister? If it truly was sister who deliberately schemed, neither I nor your highness can remain in this place for long." Qi Mingshan sharply defended her, saying, "Absolutely impossible. Mingrong is gentle and kind-hearted. She could absolutely never commit such a low and despicable act." Just as his words fell, the commotion of people searching for someone came from outside the room. First was my mother's anxious voice, saying, "Her Majesty the Empress is about to arrive momentarily." As the main protagonist of today's coming-of-age ceremony, Mingxi absolutely must not breach decorum. Quickly find her. Next was Shen Mingrong, saying, "Mother, your daughter has something but knows not whether she should speak it." Just now, a maidservant saw Sister Mingxi entering this inner courtyard garden with an outside male. They have now vanished without a trace. Could they be having a private tryst in some small pavilion or wing room? In my past life, my coming-of-age ceremony had indeed alarmed Her Majesty the Empress. The Empress and my mother used to be close childhood friends. Her coming to my coming-of-age ceremony was actually to evaluate a prospective bride for Prince Jing. The imperial palace intended to form a marriage alliance between the Marquis household and the Eastern Palace. Shen Mingrong was originally the chosen consort for Prince Jing. Regrettably, before the marriage alliance was formally finalized, she was exposed as the fake young mistress, and her birth mother was nothing more than a dancing courtesan from a pleasure house. Although she was not driven out of the Yong'an Marquis household, her status now was ultimately awkward. The imperial family valued purity of bloodline above all else. To put it bluntly, Shen Mingrong was a child born of a woman from the slave registry. After the empress learned of this, though it did not show on her face, her heart was somewhat responsive. Her coming today was to see what the true young mistress of the Yong'an Marquis household looked like, what her character was like, and whether she was worthy of the position of Prince Jing's consort. Shen Mingrong was aware of this intent of the empress, which was why she drugged and set up the situation, wanting the empress to catch with her own eyes me, the true young mistress, in a state of disarray beneath an outside male in the pavilion. In my past life, when the empress stumbled upon this scene, she flew into a terrible rage and my father and mother hastily married me off to prevent me from implicating the reputation of the entire Marquis household. The more disgraceful I was, the more Shen Mingrong could erase the stigma of being a fake young mistress upon herself. The malice of her motivation could well be imagined. This time, because she brought people along, but failed to find me in the pavilion, she immediately led them outside the nearest wing room. Very quickly, they discovered that the door to my room was left ajar. "Sister Mingxi, are you inside?" Shen Mingrong did not push the door open directly, but instead asked first with great courtesy. Qi Mingxuan looked utterly embarrassed. He was currently covered entirely in my marks. The bite marks on his neck were vividly bright, and the back of his ears still carried the flush of passion that had just receded. "Your Highness need not worry," I whispered. "I will go to deal with them while your Highness leaves through the small window. Rest assured, regarding today's matter, this minister's daughter will absolutely not disclose a single word." Qi Mingxuan was slightly startled, asking, "Then what about you?" Looking at this currently precarious bed and the damp, messy bedding, even if no man was present, anyone taking a single glance could guess what had transpired here. I put on an innocent face, saying, "If we simply made a mistake due to intoxication, I believe sister will not make things difficult for me." I picked up the python robe that had flown onto the ground for Qi Mingxuan, blinking my clear eyes, and said innocently and sincerely, "Your Highness, this minister's daughter has never thought of using this matter to coerce your Highness into anything." Qi Mingxuan looked at me with an entirely new gaze. "Sister, if you do not answer, your sister will push the door and come in." Shen Mingrong's voice came through aggressively. Right before Qi Mingxuan's eyes, I flusteredly threw on my outer robe, stepped out from behind the screen, and said, "Sister, I am a bit drunk and am taking a short rest here." "Is that so?" Shen Mingrong's tone carried a few hints of sarcasm. "Why is my younger sister's voice so hoarse? Does intoxication damage the throat?" I feigned a couple of coughs, saying, "Perhaps I caught a chill from the wind while intoxicated. In that case, your sister must come in to take a look all the more." As she spoke, the room door was pushed open from the outside by Shen Mingrong, and coming along with her were my mother and several noble bureaucratic wives, whose names could be called out. In my past life, the ones who came to catch the adultery were also this group of people. I flusteredly covered my chest, yet this caused them to notice the marks upon my body at very first glance. Couples with the passion-laden, hot air that had not yet dissipated in this room, everyone's expressions changed subtly. Those noble wives shared a tacit understanding. My mother lowered her voice and angrily scolded, "Mingxi, what have you done inside here?" "Mother, I did nothing." As I spoke, I took 2 steps backward in a self-defeating manner, shielding the screen behind me. Shen Mingrong's gaze stared at the screen and me with full aggression, saying, "Sister, could it be that you were engaged in a shameful, illicit affair in this room with some wild man?" "Sister, I know not what you are talking about." Shen Mingrong had always appeared reasonable, gentle, and considerate to the outside world. But at this moment, in order to crush me to death, she actually leaked a few hints of angry exasperation over a failure to meet expectations. "I said long ago that you must be strictly supervised upon returning to the estate. Your adoptive mother was a brothel-dancing courtesan, and having been raised by her, you were influenced by what you saw and heard. Could it be that you are just like that group of courtesans, unable to leave a man for even a single moment? Sister, even if my adoptive mother was disgraceful, she was still your birth mother. You should show some restraint in your words." Shen Mingrong was most taboo about anyone mentioning her true birth. Being pricked with such a sentence by me in front of the public, her face transformed instantly, saying, "A mere courtesan, being evaluated with a couple of words by this golden mouth of mine, can be considered a glory for her after death. In my past life when I was framed in the pavilion, I was so frightened I could only weep and beg. Back then, Shen Mingrong comforted me with a perfectly kind countenance, such that I had always believed she was a good sister. Now, I merely talked back to her a few times, and she was provoked into revealing her true nature completely. Daring to commit illicit relations with someone at your very coming-of-age ceremony? No wonder your voice is hoarse." Shen Mingrong pressed aggressively. Who is the adulterer? Sister, how can you defile my innocence without any evidence or proof? I appeared on the verge of tears, the trailing sound soft. Shen Mingrong believed I was crying out of guilt, but in truth, I was crying for Qi Mingxuan's ears alone. When my adoptive mother was young, she had been an unparalleled top courtesan. She had taught me that to grasp a man's heart, there were techniques even to crying. Sister insists that I have an adulterer, and brought so many noble bureaucratic wives along. Could it be that you came to catch an adultery with premeditation? I firmly shielded the screen, saying, I unaccountably became intoxicated and unconscious today. Could this be sister's arrangement? Shen Mingrong was poked right in the heart by my words and became a bit anxious, saying, whether you are innocent or not can be known just by looking to see if there is an adulterer inside the screen. Get out of the way. She stepped forward to push me aside. I fell weakly, and the screen was brought down along with me. With a loud bang, everyone saw that upon the bed with disordered gauze curtains, there indeed sat a man with his back turned to them. My sister gloated, but I let out a great sigh of relief in my heart. He indeed could not bear to leave me to face this messy situation alone. He could be considered a man of responsibility. The crowd was greatly shocked, crying, this Shen Mingxi indeed is having a private tryst with a man. To actually commit such an act at her coming-of-age ceremony. Truly a disgrace to the threshold of the Yong'an Marquis Household. My mother also let out a loud cry, saying, Mingxi, you indeed are rotten mud that cannot support a wall. Who is this adulterer? It's not like that, mother. I knelt on the ground, explaining flusteredly. Shen Mingrong had already walked to the side of the bed, full of confidence, saying, who the adulterer is, I will see with my own eyes to find out. Turn around. She was practically commanding the man on the bed. The man remained unmoving like a majestic mountain. I crawled on my knees to Shen Mingrong's feet, saying, Sister, this is all my fault. At worst, I will hang myself with a strip of white silk. Please do not make things difficult for him. Get out of the way. Shen Mingrong kicked me aside. She believed the man before her eyes was the scholar Lin Zimo whom she had arranged. Seeing the scholar dare to disobey her command, a nameless fire rose in her heart, and she pressed a palm onto the man's shoulder, her tone becoming even harsher, saying, I told you to turn around. The man finally turned around, an intense majesty and anger floating upon his sharp brow and eyes as he stared icily at Shen Mingrong, saying, the adulterer is this prince. Are you satisfied now, Mingrong? Shen Mingrong's eyes widened in horror, stammering. Prince? Unsure who reacted first, the crowd fell to their knees in a thud. How could it be you, your highness? For Shen Mingrong, the sky had fallen. She shook and stuttered in fear, suddenly snapping her gaze toward me. I raised my hand to touch my own throat, silently provoking her. Was sister not curious why my voice was hoarse? Of course it was because my brother-in-law hurt me. You slut. It's you. Realizing she had fallen into a trap, Shen Mingrong turned furious and cursed as she prepared to pounce on me, only to be yanked away by a pair of large hands. Qi Mingxuan pulled me firmly behind his back, sizing up Shen Mingrong with a subtle expression. In his impression, Shen Mingrong had always been gentle, considerate, virtuous, and well-mannered. Yet just now, she had pressed so harshly step by step, and even cursed with a distorted countenance, no different from a shrew. She was a completely different person from the Shen Mingrong he admired. Or perhaps, this was Shen Mingrong's true nature. Having grown up in the imperial palace, he had seen too many smiling tigers and two-faced people engaged in intrigues. Could it be that Shen Mingrong was also one of them? Qi Mingxian's gaze was icily intimidating. Under his gaze, Shen Mingrong suddenly perceived her gaffe and hastily knelt on the ground, put on her most practiced innocent posture, saying, Your Highness, this concubine was afraid you were drugged and framed by someone, which was why I lost my composure out of anxiety. Shen Mingrong said with certainty, This concubine has been classmates with Your Highness for many years, and understands Your Highness best. Your Highness has always exercised self-restraint and adhered to decorum, remaining sober after 1,000 cups. How could you possibly be drunk to such a state of losing composure today? Someone must have laced the wine with drugs. Harboring malicious designs. Tears welled in the corners of my eyes, saying, Sister insinuates and casts shadows. Could it be that you wish to defame me for drugging His Highness Prince Jing? You are still pretending. Seeing me shrink behind Qi Mingshuan, Shen Mingrong was consumed with rage, saying, Who else could it be if not you? The sole beneficiary of this matter is you, Shen Mingxi. To prove it is also simple. We need only invite a doctor to take the pulse, to see if your highness was poisoned or not. Qi Mingshuan also held this very intention. For the sake of fairness, he dispatched a trusted aide directly to the front hall to invite Imperial Physician Li from the banquet. The matter thus alarmed all the guests of today. Imperial Physician Li took Qi Mingshuan's pulse and quickly delivered a conclusion, saying, The yin and yang within your highness's body are imbalanced, and fire and heat are raging internally. This is a typical pulse condition of aphrodisiac injury, indicating he has been afflicted with a virulent, lustful poison. If this poison cannot be relieved in time, at best it will injure the fundamental essence, and at worst, blood will flow backward, costing his life. Who is so sinister and malicious as to dare drug a prince? When the physician spoke of these medicinal properties, Shen Mingrong actually did not change her expression. From the moment she decided to drug me, she only sought two outcomes. Either I would die a violent death in a wretched state, or I would be caught in bed and utterly ruined. Yet these underhanded tricks were now gifted by me onto her most beloved man. The room was already packed with people, and the great general of the realm, who usually enjoyed close personal relations with the Prince Jing estate, said, Your Yong'an Marquis Household must be tired of living, daring to use this kind of method against His Highness Prince Jing. May your highness appease your anger. My father and mother knelt on the ground. No matter who laced the drug, Prince Jing had nearly met with disaster within the Marquis household. Father, mother, you need not confess to a crime. His Highness Prince Jing is benevolent and of deep virtue, and will absolutely not implicate innocent people. In the posture of a female master, Shen Mingrong spoke on behalf of Prince Jing. Right now, the most critical matter is to find the person who laced the drug. She stared tightly at me, saying, Mingxi, do you dare let the physician check your pulse as well? I grasped my own wrist, asking vigilantly, What does sister mean by this? If you also caught the lustful poison, it can still be considered excusable. If your pulse condition is normal, and you are not poisoned, it proves you remained clear-headed throughout. A clear-headed young lady of a great household, upon encountering a prince who has lost his mind, what she should do is invite a physician for him and seek a prescription, rather than enticing him into bed. For sister to do this, is it not simply because you wish to cling to the Prince Jing estate and become Prince Jing's consort? Shen Mingrong raised her hand to adjust my collar, exposing me with disdain, saying, Stop acting as if your virtue was forcibly taken by someone. This was entirely done intentionally by you. You simply wished to force His Highness Prince Jing to marry you as his wife on the day of your coming-of-age ceremony, did you not? That cup of drugged wine had harmed Qi Mingshuan, so Shen Mingrong concluded that I did not drink that cup of wine. The gaze she directed at me was already overflowing with a glaring intent to kill. Even if her scheme was exposed, she would still crush me to death in this gamble. I grasped my wrist, took 2 steps backward, and denied flatly, saying, I did not drug your highness. I am also a victim. If you didn't, what are you dodging for? A bantering voice came through. I followed the sound to look, and it was my biological brother born of the same father and mother, Shen Changfeng. He walked to Shen Mingrong's side and said to Prince Jing, Your Highness, this drug is so sinister. If both people caught the drug together, only then can Shen Mingxi be considered innocent. If Shen Mingxi remained clear-headed throughout, while only your highness was bewildered by passion, it is very difficult not to make one suspect that she laced the drug herself to seduce a prince. I stared at Shen Changfeng. Clearly, I was the biological sister who shared a striking resemblance to him in brow and eyes. Yet at this moment, For the sake of favoring Shen Mingrong, his words left me absolutely no room whatsoever. According to the marriage customs of the Qi kingdom, if a woman had an elder brother, she should be escorted out of the maternal home's gate by her elder brother when marrying off. In my past life, I married down to the destitute scholar. Shen Changfeng merely dispatched a domestic servant by his side to deal with me, and that servant even brought words, saying, "The eldest young master says that the young lady's conduct is loose. Although there is blood relation, the young master is ashamed to be associated with you and tells you to look out for yourself after marrying off." Later, when Shen Mingrong married off, Shen Changfeng not only escorted her all the way, but it was said his eyes were red from crying. A cold heart was a matter of a single instant. Toward these so-called blood relatives, I had long since deadened my heart. The one I could rely on had always been only myself. The moment Shen Changfeng spoke up, several people within the spectating crowd consecutively voiced loud support for Shen Mingrong. A commandery princess of the Qi family sneered, saying, "Knowing full well that Prince Jing and Mingrong share a mutual affection and are short of only a decree of imperial marriage, this Shen Mingxi must have wished to snatch this grand marriage alliance, which was why she drugged your highness, thinking to cook the raw rice into mature rice and force your highness to marry her as his wife." An heir of the He family mocked, saying, "Although blood relation is precious, having drifted outside for 18 years, and even been raised by that kind of person, such a biological daughter truly cannot compare to a true noble lady carefully nurtured like Mingrong." The young duke of the Zhang family said loudly, "Shen Mingxi, stop pretending as well. Confess honestly, was it because you wished to snatch Mingrong's marriage alliance that you drugged your highness? This is your coming-of-age ceremony. You truly went all out." These three individuals were of noble birth and were known collectively with Shen Mingrong as the four prodigies of the imperial city. When I was first recognized and brought back to the imperial city, these three individuals tricked me into going to Juxian restaurant, saying they wanted to host a banquet for me. Halfway through the meal, these children of noble families all found excuses to disperse, leaving me alone to settle the bill. Only then did I learn that such a small table of food and drink actually cost 100 taels of silver in the imperial city. At that time, I had just been recognized and brought back to the Marquis household, and carried only a few taels of silver upon my person, leaving me at a loss as to what to do in my embarrassment. In the end, the shopkeeper detained me in the shop until night fell, before Shen Changfeng came to the restaurant with a dark face to take me away. On that day, I lost face entirely, and everyone in the imperial city spread the word that this true young mistress just recognized by the Marquis household was a poor person suddenly struck rich, daring to go to Juxian restaurant to order the most expensive dishes to show off the moment she returned. Upon returning to the estate, Shen Mingrong and her three close friends were waiting for me at the estate gates. Shen Mingrong stepped forward, held my hand, smiled, and apologized, saying, "Mingxi, my friends were merely playing a joke on you. Do not mind it." She said it in such a way, yet the gaze her friends, including Shen Mingrong herself, used to size me up, was as harsh as if they were sizing up a rat that had crawled out from a dark ditch into the sunlight. On that day, I was nearly drowned by embarrassment and low self-esteem. Shen Mingrong had served as the legitimate young mistress of the Marquis household for 18 years, and had long since managed a network of personal connections centered around herself within the imperial city. Regardless of right or wrong, these children of noble families with noble status would unconditionally defend Shen Mingrong. Just like right now, they babbled on, leaving me without even a chance to argue. The noble wives and officials beside them also sized me up with subtle gazes, seemingly concluding that the truth of the matter was indeed thus. Shen Mingrong, who held the complete upper hand, softly advised, "As a fellow woman, I understand your thoughts. You were raised outside since childhood, and your adoptive mother was furthermore a courtesan. So it is inevitable that you learned some underhanded methods." I did not. While shaking my head with tears in my eyes, I shrank back and took 2 steps backward. "You didn't?" Shen Mingrong pressed close to me, saying, "Then what are you guilty about? Let the physician check your pulse condition, and everything will be clear." I raised my head to seek help from Qi Mingshuan, saying, Your Highness, please believe me. I was also framed by someone. I am innocent. Qi Mingshuan grasped my arm, saying, Mingxi, let the physician check your pulse condition. If you are innocent, it will convince the crowd. My arm held within his grasp began to tremble uncontrollably. A flash of triumph crossed Shen Mingrong's eyes, and she snatched my arm away. Imperial Physician Li took over smoothly, placing his fingers upon my pulse. I shrank back, trying to draw back my arm. This drew ridicule from Shen Mingrong's friends. Look at her guilty appearance. She laced the drug. No doubt about it. Women raised in brothels are all the same, rushing to climb into a man's bed, thinking they can fly onto a high branch and turn into a phoenix this way. Laughable. Marquis Shen, forgive my directness, but Mingrong's character is 100 times nobler than this biological daughter of yours. Shut your mouths. The matter has not yet been concluded. Who permitted you to discuss it thus? Did you not learn a single bit of upbringing during your time as study companions in the imperial palace? With a shout of scolding from Qi Mingshuan, that group of arrogant noble family children only then closed their mouths sullenly. Only Shen Changfeng was filled with indignation, saying, Your Highness, she is already guilty to this extent. Does it still need to be verified? She clearly... This pulse condition of young Lady Mingxi. Before Shen Changfeng could finish speaking, Imperial Physician Li suddenly twirled his silver-white beard, frowning as he said, This pulse condition. Shen Mingrong could not wait to press further, asking, How is the pulse condition? She did not catch the drug. She lied, didn't she? Imperial Physician Li released his hand and delivered a conclusion, saying, This pulse condition is just as restless and rapid as His Highness Prince Jing's. It is a symptom of blood and qi weakness following an aphrodisiac injury. Shen Mingrong was greatly shocked, asking, What did you say? The noble family children who had been noisy just now, together with Shen Changfeng who had been anxious to pronounce me guilty, all froze in place. Imperial Physician Li clinched the matter, saying, The two must have caught a virulent, lustful poison at the same time, and moreover, young Lady Mingxi's symptoms are even more severe than your Highness's. When it flared up, her mind must have been unclear, and her thoughts and actions beyond her control. If a great mistake was committed during this period, she is truly innocent. Shen Mingrong flew into a terrible rage, saying, How is that possible? This is impossible. The physician must have seen it wrongly. Grooming his beard, Imperial Physician Li said, This old official has served in the Imperial Academy of Medicine for over 40 years. It is actually the first time someone has questioned this old official's medical skills. Shen Mingrong was embarrassed beyond measure. She immediately directed the spearhead at me, saying, If you didn't have something tricky going on, what were you guilty about? When the physician wanted to take your pulse, what were you dodging for? I dodged because... As I spoke, I rolled up my sleeves, and everyone saw that upon my arms, they were entirely covered in bruises and red marks from after the passion. I swept my gaze across everyone present, my tone innocent, saying, I was afraid that when the physician took my pulse, he would expose these marks, damaging your Highness's pure reputation, and furthermore falling out of line with the dignity of a noble family young lady. I swept my gaze across Shen Mingrong and her three close friends, my gaze provoking, asking, Don't you all agree? These marks included bite marks and also bruises, all masterpieces created under Qi Mingxian's loss of composure. Qi Mingshuan felt quite ashamed. He raised his hand to shield me within his embrace, lowered my sleeves, and furthermore untied his own outer robe to cover me tightly and thoroughly. My entire being was wrapped beneath his outer robe, and sniffing closely, it still carried Qi Mingshuan's agarwood scent. The group of people who had jumped the highest just now also panicked, saying, She actually is truly innocent. Then who could the one who laced the drug be? Could there be an assassin at the banquet? I seemed to see just now that Mingrong offered wine to both your Highness, and that true young mistress... Shen Mingrong had already lost her footing. At this time, Shen Changfeng stood out and said, Even if Shen Mingxi was also laced with the drug, it could also be that for the sake of the glory of the Prince Jing estate, She entered the juice herself and took a risky step. I sized up Shen Changfeng with a cold eye. As expected of my own biological elder brother, my thoughts were entirely guessed by him. I indeed had also consumed that drug, though it was after I had enticed Qi Mingshan onto the bed. What Shen Mingrong had given me was the most virulent, lustful poison. In my past life when I married the scholar, I accidentally fell from the bridal sedan, injuring my palm and drawing blood. When the doctor who treated my injury bandaged me, he said the scent of my blood was incorrect and asked if I had drunk some virulent passion drug for the sake of the bridal chamber. This drug has a nickname called mating mandarins. It was originally used in the folk areas to breed livestock. Used upon humans, the efficacy is too fierce and too toxic. So long as it is consumed, regardless of male or female, regardless of status, they can be mated into a pair. Mating mandarins, to be precise, is a lustful poison. If it remains within the human body, without 10 days to half a month, it is completely impossible to discharge entirely. That barefoot doctor kindly reminded me, saying, "When the medicinal properties flare up, the blood of the poisoned person is toxic." Therefore, when Qi Mingshuan's drug flared up, I embraced his neck and bit down fiercely, drawing blood. To avoid appearing deliberate, I also bit open the skin on other locations of his body. I sucked the blood within his body, as if drinking poison. At that time, I was like a malevolent ghost from hell, wrapping around a noble deity, basely sucking his fresh blood to execute a path of redemption. A person who had died once would always use any means necessary to survive. In the midst of this lovemaking, my lustful poison also flared up accordingly. By the time Qi Mingshuan was sated, the lustful poison within my body was still boiling. Although it could be restrained, upon the pulse condition it was extremely easy to confuse, causing the physician to believe that I and Qi Mingshuan caught the drug at the same time, and furthermore that I had suffered deeper harm. Thus, I became the most perfect victim. At this moment, facing Shen Changfeng's accusation, I asked back with tears in my eyes, saying, "Does brother's meaning imply that for the sake of clinging to the prince estate, I did not hesitate to cast aside my innocence, disregard my life and safety, and give myself a heavy dosage of a low, lustful poison? Is there truly anyone in the world who would be greedy and foolish to this extent? Or is it that, in your eyes, I am simply such a disgraceful person?" Shen Changfeng was left speechless by my words, saying, "You." I asked back to my father and mother again, saying, "In your eyes, am I truly such a disgraceful, evil person? Father, mother, I am the biological daughter who shares the same blood flowing within you. When Shen Mingrong slandered me, was she not also slandering every single person of the Shen family?" The immensely learned Marquis was left so ashamed by my question that he lowered his eyes, and the elegant and noble main mistress's gaze directed at me was instantly filled completely with remorse. No one within the room dared speak further, a rare silence falling. At this time, I walked to Qi Mingshuan's side, saying, "Your Highness, do you still remember what this concubine said? Both you and I drank the wine offered by Shen Mingrong." Aside from us, Shen Mingrong's face turned deathly pale abruptly. The wine I offered had no problems. She forced herself to remain calm. Right now, lacing a drug does not necessarily have to be within the wine. It could also be upon the utensils. I told Qi Mingshuan, saying, "Your Highness, have someone bring the wine pot and cups she used when offering wine to check, and it will be known." Shen Mingrong clearly lost her composure. She asked Qi Mingshuan expectantly, saying, "Your Highness, do you suspect me? We have known each other for many years. What my character is like, do you not understand?" Qi Mingshuan said in a deep voice, "Mingrong, what your character is like, this prince indeed needs to evaluate further." Shen Mingrong's expression froze, her shoulders collapsing. If Shen Changfeng had not provided a support, she would have fallen to the ground at this moment. Even if the trick upon the cup was discovered, the number of people who had come into contact with that set of wine utensils during the coming-of-age ceremony was not limited to her alone. It might not necessarily pin the crime entirely upon her alone. She took a deep breath, calming down, saying, "My innocence is clear. I fear not Your Highness's investigation." Just as her words fell, a man dressed as a scholar emerged from the crowd, shouting, "I want to report. I want to report." The crowd cleared a path for him, and everyone saw that the scholar wore cotton clothes and held a man whose clothing style was similar to his within his grasp. That man had his hands bound and seemed to have been punched a couple of times, being pushed to kneel before everyone as he shouted loudly, "Injustice! Zhou Sheng slandered me." My pupils shrank violently. This man kneeling before me shouting of injustice was none other than the scholar Lin Zimo, whom I had married down to in my past life. In my past life, he lay in ambush at the rockery, taking advantage of my vulnerability to enter, and afterwards swore firmly that it was I who proactively offered myself to seduce him. My reputation was ruined, and I was forced to marry down into the Kangzhou Lin family. After marriage, Lin Zimo ate, drank, gambled, and womanized, using every method available to suck my marrow and drink my blood. He drove me to the end of my rope, and I used a flower vase to smash his head until it bled profusely, sending him to see the king of hell. He died. Yet the dirty disease he brought onto me tortured me throughout. At this moment, although time had flowed backward and everything started anew, toward his arrival, I had also long since anticipated it. Yet actually seeing this person, I still could not help but feel a chilling phantom pain all over my body. Qi Mingshuan perceived that my breathing had suddenly turned rapid. Believing I had been frightened, he pulled me into his embrace, a posture full of protection. "Your Highness, Marquis, I wish to report Lin Zimo for intending to commit misconduct." The one holding Lin Zimo was the scholar Zhou Wenkai. With the imperial examinations imminent, the outer courtyard of the Marquis household had taken in quite a few scholars for boarding and study. These people were all talent stock favored by the Yong'an Marquis household. So long as 2 or 3 individuals successfully entered officialdom, they would all be supports for the Marquis household within the imperial court. These scholars came from all directions. There was a strict defense between men and women, and furthermore a distinction between noble and base. Hence, for an occasion like the coming-of-age ceremony of the Marquis household's young mistress, this group of boarding scholars was not permitted to attend the banquet, and naturally could not arbitrarily trespass into the inner courtyard. Zhou Wenkai pressed down on Lin Zimo, reporting to Prince Jing, saying, "Early this morning, Lin Zimo was acting stealthily, heading toward the inner courtyard garden. The inner courtyard is the residence of the young mistress and young master. I was afraid he would offend the noble persons, so I followed him over, and indeed saw him hiding within the rockery acting stealthily. Later, after young Lady Mingxi came to the inner courtyard stumbling, Lin Zimo emerged directly from the rockery, searching all around, and even lingered about various locations of the wing rooms, pushing open the doors one by one, as if searching for someone. My spine turned cold. If not for Qi Mingshuan, if I had truly been drugged, even if I hid within the wing room, I would have been eaten clean by the Lin Zimo who came searching. The front hall is the coming-of-age ceremony of the Marquis household's young mistress. The Marquis has shown this grassroots citizen the kindness of recognition, and this grassroots citizen absolutely could not let Lin Zimo ruin the coming-of-age ceremony. Hence, I took action to capture him. When he resisted, I even searched out a cloth square laced with drugs from his person. Zhou Wenkai handed over a thick cloth square. Imperial physician Li took it, examined it closely, placed it by his nose to sniff lightly, and immediately moved it away, saying, "This cloth square is also laced with a lustful poison. This scholar intended to commit misconduct against young Lady Mingxi." The crowd was greatly shocked. Pretending to be frightened, I shrank into Qi Mingshuan's embrace. Qi Mingshuan was furious, raising his foot to kick Lin Zimo to the ground, saying, "Presumptuous! Who instructed you to commit such a filthy act within the Marquis household?" Seeing the matter exposed, Lin Zimo immediately looked toward Shen Mingrong. Shen Mingrong panicked, saying, What are you looking at me for?" Lin Zimo's eyeballs rolled around. Having been husband and wife with him for 3 years in my past life, I understood this person. He was both foolish and wicked. Now that matters had come to this, He would surely name Shen Mingrong as the mastermind behind the scenes in order to preserve his life. I did not even need to induce a confession. I only needed to wait for him to open his mouth. Shen Mingrong's face was deathly pale, and she desperately used her eyes to threaten him. Yet a petty person like Lin Zimo was the most difficult to control at the brink of life and death. As expected, he disregarded Shen Mingrong's warning, choosing self-preservation, saying, "The one who dared instruct me to do this kind of thing, naturally is only Shen." The Empress arrives. Before his words could be finished, he was suddenly interrupted by a loud shout from a eunuch outside. My hand tightly clenched into a fist loosened weakly. We were short by just a tiny bit. Shen Mingrong's heart was nearly suspended at her throat, before violently dropping back down. The Empress had previously liked Shen Mingrong very much. Before Shen Mingrong was exposed as a fake young mistress, she was still the carefully nurtured young mistress of the Marquis household, with a clean bloodline. Prince Jing required the assistance of the Marquis household, and the Empress had indicated more than once that Shen Mingrong was the crown princess she favored. Shen Mingrong touched a green jade-wrapped silk bracelet upon her right wrist, which was a treasure bestowed upon her previously by the Empress. Right now, although she was a fake young mistress, Shen Mingxi held the suspicion of seducing a prince. The Empress had seen much of palace infighting, was highly suspicious and thoughtful, and furthermore treasured Prince Jing like the pupil of her eye. She absolutely would not permit anyone to scheme against Prince Jing regarding bedroom matters. Shen Mingrong revealed a triumphant look of surviving a disaster. Her Majesty the Empress was her great backer. The Empress's phoenix carriage arrived outside the wing room, and the crowd knelt in a sheet to pay respects. Wrapped in Qi Mingshuan's outer robe, I knelt respectfully, and almost instantly perceived the Empress's gaze shooting onto me. Everything upon the bed that had not been cleaned up in time manifested the absurdity of just now. The Empress's expression turned cold, asking, "What has occurred here?" Without waiting for Qi Mingshuan to reply, Shen Mingrong rushed to speak first, saying, "Your Majesty, Shen Mingxi used the low-class methods of brothels to design and seduce His Highness Prince Jing. Empress Zhang had only one prince, Qi Mingshuan. In her early years, she had also carried a pregnancy, but was harmed by consort Li of the Li clan, causing a miscarriage. The Li clan was originally a trained courtesan raised by an official of the previous dynasty. Back then, the emperor traveled incognito, got drunk upon a pleasure boat, and shared a romantic night with the flattering Li clan. The Li clan was enfeoffed as consort Li. After entering the palace, she relied on favor to act arrogantly, offending the empress, such that the 5-month-old little princess within the empress's womb could not be preserved. Although consort Li had long since died in the cold palace, Empress Zhang detested those of consort Li's ilk above all else. Today was the first time the empress saw me. Shen Mingrong's single sentence turned me into a second. Consort Li, completely destroying my impression with the empress. Empress Zhang's gaze directed at me was indeed unkind. Qi Mingshuan wished to explain on my behalf, but Empress Zhang already lacked the patience to listen further, saying, "Without matchmaker or betrothal gifts, engaging in private copulation constitutes unchastity." She looked at me icily, saying, "Bestow upon you a strip of white silk to end yourself. This palace will fulfill your dignity after death." Qi Mingshuan was greatly shocked, crying, "Imperial Mother, Shen Mingxi is also a victim. How do you know she is entirely innocent? Can you see through a woman's thoughts? Do not be like your imperial father, being deceived by someone yet still counting money for her." I remained calm upon my face, yet a layer of thin sweat emerged upon my back. This trick of mine was indeed like showing off skills before a master in front of the empress. The empress was the highest status person on the scene, and no one dared oppose her decision. My father and mother appeared to wish to beg for mercy for me, yet in the end they did not truly dare open their mouths. Just like in my past life, they would without hesitation marry me off for the sake of reputation. When 2 old palace maids came to seize me, I happened to encounter Shen Mingrong's gaze. She was like a fox that had succeeded in its scheme, cunningly waiting for me to die. The strength of the palace maids was immensely great. The moment they laid hands on me, they prepared to tear away the outer robe draped over me. Once the outer robe fell, my wretched state would all the more draw Empress Zhang's loathing. Yet just as the outer robe was torn open by a corner, it was gathered tightly again by another pair of large hands. I raised my head, and Qi Mingxuan pulled me into his embrace, hearing him say with sonorous force, "If it is a matter of losing chastity, today your son has also lost a gentleman's loyalty. Since Imperial Mother wishes to bestow death, why not give one more strip of white silk and hang your son to death as well?" The Empress was greatly shocked, crying, "My son, you." When Qi Mingxuan defended me, I could even hear the resonance within his chest cavity. Everyone present was shaken by Prince Jing's words and actions. Without asking of the causes and consequences to hand down a death penalty, how is Imperial Mother doing this any different from killing the innocent indiscriminately? Qi Mingxuan swept his gaze across everyone around again, saying, "And you all, the Empress is present on the scene to preside over justice. Have you one by one all turned dumb?" Just as his words fell, the guards who had gone out to investigate entered to report. Qi Mingxuan invited the Empress to the primary seat, saying, "This matter has its causes. A wicked person set up a Jew. Since Imperial Mother has come, why not listen to the evidence before handing down a judgment?" The Empress had no choice but to take her seat. That guard held the wine utensils as he reported, saying, "Reporting to the Empress, Your Highness, upon the wine utensils Shen Mingrong used to offer wine today, there indeed are traces of poison dipping. Upon verification by the physician, this poison is the folk area's fierce drug, mating mandarins, which was originally used in the folk areas to breed livestock. The reason Your Highness and young Lady Shen lost composure today, the chief culprits are none other than them." The gazes of the crowd all projected onto Shen Mingrong. Shen Mingrong hastily denied with a lost voice, saying, "Someone must have framed me. These wine utensils know not how many people's hands they pass through. Your Highness, Your Majesty, this minister's daughter was also framed by someone." The Empress's rage from just now had been firmly suppressed by Qi Mingxuan. Now that reason had returned, and furthermore hearing the physician say that the lustful poison nearly cost Qi Mingxuan his life, she turned serious, saying, "Mingrong, could it be that you are a thief crying thief?" "Your Majesty, I did not. Shen Mingrong knelt on the ground, at a complete loss, her mouth full of nonsense. The crowd looked at her as if looking at a buffoon upon a theater stage. Her three noble family close friends also did not speak at this time. I originally believed that Shen Mingrong was bound to die. At this time, Qi Mingxuan let out a low sigh, saying, "This matter is completely obvious. It was the scholar Lin Zimo who developed lustful intents and malicious designs toward the Marquis household's young mistress, sneaking into the inner courtyard to lace the wine with drugs." I violently raised my eyes from his embrace. Qi Mingxuan commanded without permitting any dispute, saying, "Drag Lin Zimo down, execute the penalty of castration, and then escort him to be hanged." Upon hearing this, Lin Zimo immediately began to curse, saying, "I am merely someone executing the task. The mastermind is Shen." Before his words could be finished, his tongue and teeth were smashed to pieces by the guards using clubs, rendering him unable to utter a single clear syllable further. I hastily said, "The matter is not this simple. The mastermind behind the scenes was Shen Mingrong. Why push all the crimes onto Lin Zimo?" The hand Qi Mingxuan placed upon my shoulder suddenly tightened. This was a force of prevention and warning. I was stunned, seeing him gaze intently at the wretched, panicked Shen Mingrong on the ground, saying, "From this day forth, Shen Mingrong is grounded to reflect upon her faults. Without this prince's command, she may not step half a foot out of her pavilion room." I understood. Qi Mingxuan pushed all the crimes onto Lin Zimo, solely to preserve Shen Mingrong. For this, he did not hesitate to destroy all the evidence I had painstakingly delivered up. Following that, I was suddenly dragged by him to kneel before the Empress, hearing him say, "Imperial Mother, Shen Mingxi through a twist of combinations resolved the lustful poison for your son. Since she is innocent, your son is willing to take responsibility for her. Imperial father originally held the intent to form a marriage alliance between the Prince Jing estate and the Marquis household. Shen Mingxi is the true young mistress of the Marquis household, so let her be the one to fulfill the marriage contract. The empress was startled, asking, Mingshan, what do you mean? Qi Mingxuan tightly grasped my hand, saying loudly in front of everyone, this prince will use the 3 letters and 6 rites, marrying the Yong'an Marquis household's young mistress, Shen Mingxi, as Prince Jing's consort with proper matchmaker and betrothal. For Qi Mingshan to do this could both preserve my reputation and sever the empress's intent to kill me. Prince Jing required the civil official forces of the Marquis household. The empress knew that Shen Mingrong was not innocent in this matter, and developed a sense of loathing. Ultimately, she relented and agreed, letting Qi Mingshan go to request the imperial decree of marriage alliance from the emperor himself. This farce of the coming-of-age ceremony only then came to a temporary close. After the empress returned to the palace, I stumbled upon the dialogue between Shen Mingrong and Qi Mingshan in the pavilion. Shen Mingrong wept like pear blossoms in the rain, saying, Is your highness throwing a tantrum with Mingrong? Clearly the one who shares a mutual affection with your highness is me. How could you say today that you want Shen Mingxi to be your consort? Do you know what kind of person raised Shen Mingxi when she drifted outside? Her methods are filthy. Today you all have been deceived by her. Mingrong, matters have come to this, yet you are still lying before this prince. Qi Mingshuan handed a white porcelain cup before Shen Mingrong's eyes, and Shen Mingrong's crying face froze entirely. The rim and the bottom of the cup were both dipped with poison. The physician said that any liquid poured inside would instantly transform into a virulent lust drug. Lacing poison within the wine is too easy to be discovered, so you chose to tamper with the cup. If this prince has not guessed wrongly, Lin Zima was also arranged into the inner courtyard by you. You wished to drug Shen Mingxi, and then arrange for Lin Zimo to destroy her innocence. Thus there would only be one young mistress of the Marquis household, and you would be the sole candidate for Prince Jing's consort, would you not? The evidence was solid. Qi Mingshuan was a clever person, and he quickly saw through all of Shen Mingrong's calculations. Your Highness, Shen Mingrong's dark thoughts were dissected and placed beneath the sun. She was stared at by Qi Mingshuan's gaze, until her entire body felt goosebumps. You made a red mark at the bottom of the wine cup, yet the mark was too hidden, and you actually mixed up the cups, offering the poisoned wine to this prince as well. That was why there was today's farce. Mingrong, you even wished to borrow the hand of my imperial mother to take Shen Mingxi's life. What a fine murder by a borrowed knife. Shen Mingrong, you have great audacity, daring to utilize the imperial family to plot against human lives. It's not like that. It's not like that, Your Highness. Shen Mingrong knelt on the ground in terror, saying, I indeed wished to drug Shen Mingxi, and that was also because she and Lin Zimo originally enjoyed a private association. I merely wished to fulfill them. Shen Mingxi even said she wished to elope with Lin Zimo, and I merely fulfilled them on the day of her coming-of-age ceremony. Even with the matter exposed, she still wished to splash dirty water all over me. These words were half true and half false. Even if others did not believe them, they would develop suspicions in their hearts. I never thought of scheming against Your Highness. How would I dare? It was Shen Mingxi. It was she who swapped the cups amidst the confusion, which was why it harmed you, Your Highness. She tightly grabbed the lower hem of Qi Mingshuan's robes, saying, Your Highness, this concubine has admired you for many years, and dreams of becoming your primary wife. How could I bear to harm you? All of this was caused by Shen Mingxi. She is the one who framed Your Highness. Matters have come to this, yet you still know no repentance. With a loud smash, Qi Mingshuan threw the white porcelain cup in his hand, shattering it into pieces. The guards have investigated thoroughly. That set of wine utensils from beginning to end was touched only by you. And as for Lin Zimo, a Shen clan banknote was searched out from his room, and upon the banknote adhered the distinct fragrance upon your body. This fragrance you have used from childhood to adulthood. This prince will absolutely not judge it wrongly. This evidence I did not have directly presented to my imperial mother, and I furthermore had someone mangle Lin Zimo's tongue. Otherwise, the one bestowed death by imperial mother today would have been you. Shen Mingrong was so frightened her tears fell straight down. Qi Mingxuan clamped onto Shen Mingrong's face full of tears with one hand, saying, "Drugging a prince, the crime can execute 9 generations. Shen Mingrong, this prince protects you once today, which can be considered returning your years of infatuation. From this day forth, there is no other affection between me and you. Do not think of becoming Prince Jing's consort, and do not target Shen Mingxi further. Your targeting her now is equivalent to targeting this prince. Your Highness, for you to speak such words, is it to destroy this concubine's heart?" Qi Mingxuan let out a cold laugh, saying, "The passion-inducing wine between me and Shen Mingxi was furthermore handed up personally by your own hand. Mingxi, all of this was chosen by your own self." Qi Mingxuan flung away Shen Mingrong's face, treading upon a floor of porcelain pieces as he flicked his sleeves and departed. No matter how hysterically Shen Mingrong wept, he did not turn back a single time. I borrowed a large tree to hide my form, not letting Qi Mingxuan discover me. At dusk, the backyard of the Marquis estate was to execute the penalty upon Lin Zimo. This matter, after all, was not glorious. The Marquis requested and obtained Qi Mingxuan's agreement to silence him directly in the backyard of the Marquis estate. The ones responsible for executing the penalty were 2 robust guards of seasoned methods. I stepped forward to inquire, saying, "This person wished to destroy my innocence. Can the 2 elder brothers let me vent a bit of anger?" The guards were people of the Prince estate. Today Prince Jing explicitly said on the surface that he would marry me, so in their eyes I was the future Prince Jing's consort. Of course you may, it is only feared it will dirty the young lady's hands. It will not. I drew out the dagger I had prepared long ago, saying, "I will only stab him twice, and will absolutely not delay your proper business." The guards considerately checked the hemp ropes upon Lin Zimo's 4 limbs, confirming they were bound very tightly, before letting me draw near Lin Zimo. Lin Zimo's mouth, tongue, and teeth had already been mangled, yet when his eyes saw me, they still emitted a lascivious glint. Seeing me holding a knife, he was not afraid. In my past life, when he beat me in the room, I also picked up a knife to resist, yet he did not hold the slightest suspicion, even bantering, saying, "Even if the little wife takes a knife, she will only create some superficial wounds that do not itch or hurt. It will only make this husband even more excited." Wrong. My 2 hands tightly grasped the dagger. With the first stab, I castrated Lin Zimo's root of progeny. When the blood splattered up, Lin Zimo emitted a non-human tragic shriek, his entire body convulsing as he twitched. Those 2 guards were both startled. My face did not change expression. The hand fell, and the knife dropped, and I furthermore dug out that pair of presumptuous and insolent eyes of Lin Zimo. The tragic shrieks were endless to the ear, yet I only felt a sense of thorough gratification. In my past life, this man defiled my innocence, humiliated my character, and destroyed my health. That pair of eyes of his followed me like a shadow, trapping me within Kangzhou County, trapping me within the inner residence of the Lin family for 3 years. A full 3 years. I had long since wished to sever his wicked root and dig out his eyes. I had long since wished to do this. The night wind brushed against my face, and the hatred accumulated within my chest discharged by half. I threw down the dagger, letting the 2 guards continue with their penalty, and told them that they could entirely tell this scene just now to His Highness Prince Jing. I wished to dispel Qi Mingxian's suspicion toward me and Lin Zimo. So long as I was ruthless enough, Shen Mingrong's heart-destroying zhu could actually be broken very easily. The 2 guards developed a few hints of awe toward me, swiftly hoisting Lin Zimo onto the gallows. I watched with a cold eye as Lin Zimo was hanged alive to death. If not for Qi Mingxuan's soft-heartedness, the one escorted onto the gallows today should have included Shen Mingrong as well. Drugging a prince, 10 lives were insufficient to die. Yet the prince himself stayed his hand. That scene in the pavilion, Prince Jing appeared to break with Shen Mingrong. Yet that gaze was clearly a mixture of love and hate. In my past life, Qi Mingxuan and Shen Mingrong were boundlessly affectionate after marriage. Qi Mingxuan was a person of affection, which was why I could utilize him. Yet his affection would also obstruct my revenge. I must think of a method to make Prince Jing as well as the entire Shen family completely loathe and cast aside Shen Mingrong. I would thoroughly expel the wild cuckoo occupying the nest, sending her rolling back to the place she belonged. 3 days later, the imperial decree of marriage alliance was handed down from the palace. The Prince Jing estate very quickly delivered betrothal gifts to the Marquis estate. On the day the betrothal gifts were delivered, I met with Qi Mingxuan. He told me to rest assured and wait to be married. Among the betrothal gifts was an imperially bestowed golden hairpin, extremely exquisite. "Can your highness help me put it on?" Just as Qi Mingxuan picked up the golden hairpin, a maidservant suddenly rushed in flusteredly, saying, "This is bad. Young Lady Mingrong has hanged herself in the pavilion building." Qi Mingxuan's expression transformed. Throwing down the golden hairpin, he pulled his legs and rushed to Shen Mingrong's Wufang pavilion. Father, mother, and brother also all rushed over. I picked up the golden hairpin within the plate. Clearly it was my grand day, yet everyone went to care for Shen Mingrong. When I walked to Wufang pavilion, Shen Mingrong was currently lying within Qi Mingxuan's embrace, sobbing, thumping Qi Mingxuan's chest as she said she did not wish to live, had no face to live, and wished to pay for her crimes with death. The white silk lay aside, and there was not even a single strangulation mark upon her neck. Feigning a search for death, yet not even acting it a bit more realistically. Such a clumsy play, yet it drew the heartache of everyone. The Marquis said, "Why must you be so unable to think things through?" The main mistress said, "Mingrong, you still have your father and mother. We all treat you as our biological daughter. If you commit a mistake, we are all willing to accompany you to correct it." Shen Changfeng also said, "Indeed. Even if the sky falls, there is still your brother to hold it up for you." It turned out a life where someone provided a safety net was like this. When my reputation was ruined in my past life, these blood relatives only wished they could throw me out as quickly as possible. Such words of coaxing, they had never spoken to me. With tearful eyes, Shen Mingrong gazed at Qi Mingxuan, and Qi Mingxuan said helplessly, "Your crime does not warrant death, you need not be thus. If there is no Your Highness, Mingrong's life is worse than death. Your Highness, Mingrong finds it a bit difficult to breathe." She weakly leaned into Qi Mingxuan's embrace. Qi Mingxuan did not push her away, only telling someone to go invite a physician over. The gaze Qi Mingxuan directed at me always seemed like bestowing charity upon a pitiable weakling. Yet when he looked at Shen Mingrong, it was an affection that he could not find the ruthlessness to sever. The physician came to take a look, saying that Shen Mingrong was suffering from a depression of thoughts. Qi Mingxuan then relented, letting her skip the grounding within the pavilion building, permitting her to move about within the Marquis estate. The grand wedding between me and Qi Mingxuan was set for the 9th of next month, and the entire Marquis estate was preparing for the wedding. Everywhere was filled with fresh flowers and joyous silk, and seeing these, Shen Mingrong became increasingly despondent. 3 days before the grand wedding, I was currently looking at the styles of wedding candies in the courtyard, when Shen Changfeng suddenly walked toward me with surging fury. "Why did you have someone deliver wedding candies to Wufang Pavilion? Doing it intentionally to make Mingrong feel miserable, is that it?" I explained innocently, saying, "Brother, I merely wished to let her also taste the flavor of wedding candies. The physician said she has a depression of thoughts, so let her partake in my joy. Perhaps her heart sickness might heal faster." "You still dare to speak sarcastically? Brother has misunderstood your sister." I turned around and held up a plate of wedding candies upon the table, saying, "Let brother taste it for your sister. Which flavor is better so as to entertain the noble guests on the day of the grand wedding?" Shen Changfeng raised his hand and struck down the lacquer plate within my hand, causing the various wedding candies atop to roll onto the ground. "Who cares to partake in your bad luck?" Leaving behind this sentence, he flicked his sleeves and departed. Dare stepped forward wishing to pick up the candies for me, but I told her there was no need to busy herself with this. Go tell father and mother that brother had a dispute with me today." Although Dyer did not understand my intention in doing this, she still did as told. By noon, the entire Marquis estate knew that Shen Changfeng had a dispute with me for the sake of Shen Mingrong. At dusk, Shen Mingrong arrived to see me dressed elegantly and simply. Bearing the appearance of a sickly beauty, she said weakly and kindly, "Mingxi, eldest brother had a contention with you today because of me. I have already spoken to him." I said lazily, "You two truly share a deep sibling affection. I have been in this home for 18 years. Even if we are not biological siblings, it surpasses biological siblings." Shen Mingrong smiled as she grasped my hand, saying, "Before, it was indeed your sister who was not good, wishing for too much. After suffering this illness, I have already thought through much. Brother is waiting for you at Yong'an Pavilion, wishing to apologize to you personally. For the sake of sibling affection, it is not good for you to reject his face. I know you hold some misunderstandings toward me, but if you do not go, it is feared you will earn a reputation of disrespecting your elder brother. You know not that the imperial family views reputation with extreme weight. I am currently unable to marry in, but Mingxi, do not lose the face of the Marquis household either." I stared at her hesitantly, and Shen Mingrong smiled, saying, "This is within the Marquis estate. It is your home. Are you afraid I will eat you? Very well. I will accompany you to see brother." I followed Shen Mingrong to Yong'an Pavilion in the inner courtyard. Yong'an Pavilion was hidden within the bamboo forest of the garden, and around it aside from bamboo, there were few human figures. The door of the pavilion building stood wide open, and right at the entrance was a screen, lighting dim. Shen Mingrong led me up the steps. The moment we arrived at the entrance, I smelled a familiar, distinct fragrance. "Mingxi, go inside to see brother." Shen Mingrong urged me to enter the door, while she herself moved behind me without a sound. Just as she prepared to give me a push from behind, I suddenly turned around, smiling sinisterly, saying, "Shen Mingrong, I saw this trick back when I was in the brothels." "What?" "The trick of enticing a young girl, delivering a sheep into a tiger's mouth." Without waiting for Shen Mingrong to react, I delivered a hand knife strike to her neck. Shen Mingrong was struck unconscious by my single strike. I caught her form, pushing her inside Yong'an Pavilion. When Shen Mingrong tumbled onto the ground, she snapped awake. Her entire body was weak, and raising her eyes, she only saw Shen Changfeng, his face flushed with a crimson glow, currently staring at her like a wild beast closing in on its prey. Mating mandarins carried a faint, distinct fragrance. This wisp of fragrance was not easily smelled out by ordinary people. Yet I was different. Across my past and present lives, I had been dealing with this very drug. Therefore, when that looming distinct fragrance drifted out from Yong'an Pavilion, I guessed Shen Mingrong's intention in leading me over. I could not tolerate Shen Mingrong, and Shen Mingrong also could not tolerate me. With the grand wedding closing in, she wished to utilize Shen Changfeng to make me fall into eternal damnation regarding moral relationships. Then do not blame me for paying back a tooth for a tooth, and using wickedness to restrain wickedness. Sister, Shen Changfeng holds more than just sibling affection toward you. Enjoy it thoroughly. As I spoke, I closed the room door from the outside. Shen Mingrong struggled desperately wishing to escape Yong'an Pavilion, yet her hands and feet were pinned by Shen Changfeng, who had lost his reason. I closed the room door without locking it. Shen Changfeng, after all, came from a martial background. His strength was sufficient to control Shen Mingrong. I called over Dyer, who was waiting outside the bamboo forest, saying, "Go to the Prince Jing estate to report," saying that Shen Mingrong's whereabouts are unknown, and it is feared she is searching for death again. Please invite His Highness Prince Jing to come take a look. Dyer nodded her head, saying, "This servant understands. This servant will also tell the Marquis and main mistress along the way." Good Dai. Ergo. I guarded outside the door for half an hour, and also heard Shen Mingrong scream for half an hour. Not until someone rushed toward this direction did I hide into the bamboo forest. My father, mother, and Qi Mingshan arrived almost simultaneously, and I also walked out from the bamboo forest, putting on the appearance of having just searched out this location, saying, "Your Highness, have you found sister? Just as my words fell, a ambiguous female voice suddenly emerged from within Yong'an Pavilion. The main mistress's expression transformed instantly. She guessed something, originally wishing to cover it up, saying, "Your Highness, Mingrong should be resting inside Yong'an Pavilion. Matters of the inner residence, why not leave them to me?" Her words were interrupted by a low roar from Shen Changfeng. The main mistress and Marquise instantly transformed their expressions, the two rushing forward rapidly to push open the door, only to see that upon the bed, their son was currently inseparable from their adoptive daughter, knowing not what world they were in. Ah! Ah! The Marquise emitted an angry wail of grief. The main mistress rushed forward wishing to yank Shen Changfeng away. Yet Shen Changfeng was deeply immersed within it. The main mistress shook all over from anger, crying, "Shen Mingrong, you actually dare entice my son to commit this kind of act? Are you worthy of our kindness of upbringing?" Shen Mingrong flusteredly rose, wishing to explain, when suddenly her face turned deathly pale, because she saw Qi Mingxuan was standing right at the entrance, his gaze icily staring at this scene. "Your Highness." "No, Your Highness. Listen to my explanation." She strove to push away Shen Changfeng, struggling to get off the bed, yet with a weakness in her legs she nearly fell. Qi Mingxuan's expression was iron green, the atmospheric pressure around him so low it could wring out water. He turned away coldly, and when walking out of the room, he suddenly halted his steps. I followed out, caring, saying, "Your Highness, sister must have committed an unintentional mistake, or made a mistake due to intoxication." "Your Highness?" Qi Mingxian suddenly covered his chest, violently vomiting out a mouthful of blood. This was a sign of extreme fury attacking the heart. This time, toward Shen Mingrong, he should be completely despondent and deadened in heart. When I escorted Qi Mingxuan back to the Prince Jing estate and returned to the Marquis estate again, the night was already deep. Entering the main hall, I saw beneath the dim yellow lamplight, Shen Mingrong and Shen Changfeng were kneeling before the two heads of the household. It appeared they had already been interrogated for a round, and Shen Changfeng's drug effect had also passed, his person much clearer, currently confessing to a crime continuously, saying, "Father, mother, your child was drugged. This is not your child's fault." The Marquis couple's faces were iron green, and the estate's doctor stood right aside. This matter happening a second time, the Marquis estate already had experience, and had already had someone check the pulse conditions. Shen Changfeng had been drugged, while Shen Mingrong had not. Who enticed whom to commit a mistake was clear at a single glance. The moment I manifested my presence, Shen Mingrong immediately pounced toward me, crying, "It's you. Shen Mingxi, you are so malicious. You are so wicked. You actually let me. As she spoke, she wept aggrievedly and bitterly, completely forgetting that if I had not struck back, then today this heavy crime of sibling incest would have been for me to bear. I know not what sister is talking about. Brother was drugged, and that drug only sister alone possesses, and only you have this kind of prior record. What are you playing a thief crying thief for here?" I flicked away Shen Mingrong's hand, saying, "If I have not guessed wrongly, sister saw that she itself could not marry His Highness Prince Jing, and furthermore feared being loathed, and cast aside by the Marquis estate. So you cast aside your face just to fight to serve as a daughter-in-law of the Marquis estate. Is it, or is it not?" "You!" Shen Mingrong was so angered by my words that the top of her head was about to emit smoke. Shen Changfeng vaulted up from the ground, pushing me away with force, shouting, "You slut. The moment you returned, our home became foul and chaotic. It clearly was you who framed us." I was pushed to a stumble by him, and after standing firmly, I only looked at the Marquis and main mistress, saying, "Father, mother, you saw it, right? Brother is so protective of sister Mingrong. At any rate, the two do not share a blood relation. Why not just fulfill them, letting sister Mingrong serve as my sister-in-law?" The Marquis's face turned even more dark and terrifying. Shen Changfeng was after all the sole male scion of the Yong'an Marquis household, and furthermore the legitimate son. Regarding his marriage alliance, the Marquis had long since favored the young lady of the state duke, or at worst it had to be the legitimate daughter of the ministry estate. Such a matching of doors and households could realize a powerful union, stabilizing the Shen family's status within the imperial court. The marriage alliances of children of noble families had always been a gamble of interests. The Marquis had spent many years floating within the imperial court. Arriving at this age, he was precisely counting on relying upon his children's marriage alliances to rise up another step. Now, it was destroyed by an adoptive daughter, leaving him grieved and broken to the extreme. Being reminded by me, Shen Mingrong also understood that marrying Shen Changfeng was already her sole good way out. She originally still wished to crowd out my position, or at worst serve as a favored concubine of the prince estate. Yet Prince Jing today witnessed that scene with his own eyes, and must have already loathed and cast her aside. With that disturbance at the coming-of-age ceremony, her reputation was furthermore wretched, and no child of a noble family with face would be willing to marry her. Father, mother, matters have come to this. I am willing to marry brother Changfeng. While crying, she acted coquettishly. She completely failed to discover that the Marquis couple had long since been at the brink of fury and collapse. Hearing Shen Mingrong speak thus, Shen Changfeng was both surprised and delighted, hastily expressing his stance, saying, "Father, mother, why don't I just marry Mingrong? At any rate, she was originally an adoptive daughter, raised beneath your eyes since childhood. You know her roots and details thoroughly, and can rest assured with such a daughter-in-law." Presumptuous, you are presumptuous. The Marquis was greatly enraged. The main mistress could endure it no longer, violently rising from her seat and dealing a resonant slap right against Shen Mingrong's face. Shen Mingrong was slapped into a daze. From childhood to adulthood, your mother has never been willing to strike you. Even on that day when I learned you were not my biological child, I never could find the heart to blame you. Shen Mingrong, you were originally born of a courtesan, yet enjoyed 18 years of glory and delicate nurturing within my Marquis estate. The master and I painstakingly nurtured you to be a young lady of a great household, planning your future for you, viewing you as even heavier than our biological daughter. Yet how have you repaid us? At your coming-of-age ceremony, you schemed against the heir to the throne, taking the 9 generations of the Shen family as a joke. Now you scheme against your adoptive brother. You wish to destroy my son's future, destroy a century of management of my Shen family. You ungrateful wolf that harms people. I should not have been soft-hearted back then. I should have driven you out of the estate gates. I watched this scene of rupture between mother and daughter with a cold eye, only feeling it sarcastic. Back when they recognized and brought me back, they could not bear to drive away Shen Mingrong. At the coming-of-age ceremony, they could not bear to investigate Shen Mingrong's great mistake. Now, Shen Mingrong touched their precious legitimate son, moving the foundation of the Shen family, and father and mother finally panicked. Therefore, the board must still strike upon the fatal position, otherwise, none of them would feel a mutual empathy toward your pain. Upon hearing his mother wish to drive away Shen Mingrong, Shen Changfeng immediately defended her, saying, "If you want to drive away Mingrong, drive me out along with her." The Marquis was so angry his chest rose and fell, raising his foot to violently kick Shen Changfeng, following which he vomited out a mouthful of blood with a wah sound, falling backward. Another one angered into collapsing. The Shen estate fell into a complete mess. At the hour of dawn, the night wind was cold, and Shen Changfeng and Shen Mingrong were penalized to kneel in the courtyard. Indoors the lamp was like a bean. I took over the warm medicinal juice, walking to the side of the Marquis's bed, saying, "Father, drink the medicine. The physician said you suffered from a surge of urgent fire attacking the heart, the same as His Highness Prince Jing's symptoms. Once you drink the medicine, you will be well." Upon the face of the always strong Marquis manifested fatigue and aging. I carefully fed him the medicine. This scene was entirely taken into the main mistress's eyes. The Marquis suddenly tightly grasped my hand, his eyes moistening, saying, "It was your father who was wrong. Your father should not have favored an outsider, cold-shouldering such a good biological daughter of mine. The main mistress also stepped forward to wipe away tears, saying, "It was all father and mother who were not good, our hearts blinded by pig oil, actually going to favor such an unnurturable, ungrateful wolf." They grasped my hand, sincerely repenting, apologizing, and imploring for my forgiveness. It turned out they also knew that their prior treatment of me was biased, cold-shouldering, and harsh. They were not truly repenting out of conscience. It was merely seeing that Shen Changfeng was about to be ruined by nurturing, and Shen Mingrong was furthermore so disgraceful. All hopes of the family could only be wagered upon me, the biological daughter who was already a prospective consort. Father, mother, for you to speak thus truly breaks your daughter. Your daughter understands father and mother's hidden troubles and difficulties, and has never dared hold resentment. I, too, learned to speak these words of understanding the grand situation, causing this couple to feel even more ashamed. The main mistress shook her head in bewilderment, asking, "This matter was even seen by Prince Jing. How can it be settled properly?" Massaging his brow, the Marquis said, "No matter what, Shen Mingrong absolutely can no longer remain within the Marquis' estate. Why don't you listen to a word from your daughter?" I spoke up at the right time, saying, "Brother developed feelings toward Shen Mingrong because the two grew up together since childhood and are too close. So long as the two of them are separated, it will be fine. Let Xier speak in detail." Your daughter's humble view is to let His Highness Prince Jing transfer brother to the border to be tempered for 2 years, letting him perform military service while reflecting upon his faults. If he is merely raised within the golden nest of the imperial city, it will also be unfavorable to brother's future. Reasonable to Then, as for Shen Mingrong, the Marquis seemed unwilling to let her bear the Shen surname further, changing his words, asking, "How to handle that adoptive daughter?" Athamerstuam. Kathasanktanang's birds, that there's a Sister Mingrong has been in the imperial city for many years, and can be considered slightly famous. If the Marquis' estate directly drives her out of the estate, it is feared it will also draw criticisms and impeachments from others. I smiled, saying, "Why don't we arrange a marriage alliance for her, marrying her far away?" Thus, our Marquis' estate has done everything within benevolence and righteousness. The gaze the Marquis directed at me was filled with appreciation, saying, "Soar is indeed worthy of being my biological daughter, plotting and maneuvering vertically and horizontally, carrying the style of my youth." The main mistress said proudly, "The daughter I bore for you, how could she be lacking?" They instantly became as if very intimate with me. But at this moment, where to arrange a marriage alliance? Smiling, I said, "That scholar Zhou Wenkai who reported Lin Zimo on that day, although his family background is impoverished, the person can still be considered upright and honest. That Zhou Wenkai does not even possess an official title." The main mistress subconsciously worried that Shen Mingrong would not live well marrying over, but very quickly she hardened her heart again, saying, "Forget it, she originally was also of base birth. Matching Zhou Wenkai can even be considered her climbing high. Why should I plan for her?" This matter settled, I attended to my father and mother's rest. Early next morning, Shen Changfeng and Shen Mingrong were separately grounded. Having obtained the good news of the marriage contract, Zhou Wenkai came specially to pay respects and thanks to me, saying, "The young lady indeed keeps her promise." On the day I returned through rebirth, time was pressing, and I only had time to buy off Zhou Wenkai, who was loitering within the inner courtyard. "On that day I dispatched you to the rockery to ambush Lin Zimo. You performed this task very well. I promised you that afterward I would arrange a good marriage alliance for you as a reward. Betrothing Shen Mingrong to you, are you satisfied?" Zhou Wenkai made a bow, saying, "Too satisfied. Although she is a fake young mistress, she was after all painstakingly nurtured by the Marquis' estate. It counts as this humble scholar climbing high. Having failed to attain official titles through the imperial examinations for many years, for him to be able to enter the Marquis' household to study relied entirely upon flattering and fawning. He was a few degrees cleverer than Lin Zimo, yet his family background, talent, and character were all merely a second Lin Zimo. In my past life, Shen Mingrong specially picked out a phoenix man to defile me. Now, I returned it to her in its original form. After arranging everything at home, I carried the small food items I made myself to the Prince Jing estate. Qi Mingshuan was truly deeply hurt in his heart, currently lying upon the bed, closing his eyes to rest his spirit. Seeing me arrive, he propped up his upper body, quietly watching me ladle the silver ear fungus soup into a bowl. I fed him a mouthful, and he asked me back, saying, "Did you not put sugar?" I hastily tasted a mouthful, saying, "Apologies, Your Highness, I forgot to put sugar again." He bantered a sentence, saying, "Don't you young girls precisely like to eat sweet things? To think you could actually forget to put sugar." When I was young and stayed by my adoptive mother's side, she would not let me touch the sugar at home, saying sugar was very expensive, and I was not worthy to eat it. I brought up this past matter as if without intent, inadvertently exposing my two wrists. Qi Mingxian indeed saw a long-standing scar upon my arm. He grasped my wrist to ask in detail, saying, "At that time my mind was bewildered by passion, such that I actually failed to discover you bear such a long-standing old scar upon your body. Who injured it?" I stammered, saying, "Your Highness should not ask further. Speaking it out is feared it will dirty your ears." "Speak." As if commanding, only then did I relent and speak, saying, "On that day, sister, before everyone said I was raised by a courtesan. She did not defame me, my adoptive mother, which is to say Shen Mingrong's birth mother, was indeed a dancing courtesan of a pleasure house. Back then she became pregnant with a guest's child, and failing to find the child's father, she relied upon her network of connections as a top courtesan to find out that the Marquis Madame would ascend the mountain on that day. Hence she spent money to hire a band of people to pose as robbers, forcing the Marquis Madame, who was waiting to give birth, into a ruined temple. Within the ruined temple, the two gave birth together. The adoptive mother swapped the children, seeking a good destination for her child, while I could only follow behind her to earn a living. I caressed this scar, saying, "When I was 8 years old, she suffered violence from a guest. I rushed inside wishing to protect her, and was cut upon my arm by a flying shard of a flower vase. This cut was cut very deep. The adoptive mother scolded me afterward, saying my arm had become ugly, and that I would not be able to dance beautiful dances in the future. Later, she loathed my timidity and cowardice, making me go to the street corners to offer dances and perform arts. I still remember on that day when dancing clumsily upon the street, I precisely happened to encounter the young mistress of the Yong'an Marquis Household heading out to amuse herself. That carriage was so luxurious, and atop hung feather wind chimes, carrying the fragrance of orchids as it passed by. I stealthily stole a glance at the Marquis Household young mistress within the carriage. She wore flowers made of colored glaze upon her head, wore a golden gauze pink skirt upon her body, and toyed with a fluffy rabbit within her hand. I was frozen in a daze. The adoptive mother covered my eyes, sharply warning me, saying people were young mistress ladies, not someone of my ilk to peer at. She told me not to have even a shred of envy, because I was forever unworthy to live that kind of life. Yet within a few days, she pointed at the towering Shen estate again, saying that if I danced well, I could enter inside to offer dances for that young mistress lady from just now, earning some reward money. Later only did I understand. She merely missed her biological daughter, wishing to force me to practice dancing well, so as to bring her into the Marquis estate to take a look at her biological daughter. And the prerequisite for entering the Marquis estate was that she wanted me to slash my own face. Speaking to here, I halted, asking with a smile, "Your Highness, have you not yet seen me dance?" I rose from the bed, my two hands elegantly stretching out, exposing that pair of arms covered in long-standing old injuries, rotating and dancing. Yet before dancing 2 steps, I was embraced from behind by Qi Mingshuan. "Apologies, Mingxi." Leaning against my shoulder, he apologized with a muffled voice, saying, "On that day I should not have allowed that group of people to utilize the injuries of your past to insult you. Shen Mingrong snatched your life. I should not let her harm you further." A lump formed in my throat, and I said softly, "I am fine, look, Right now the bitterness has ended and sweetness arrived. In truth, my affection toward your highness is no less than Shen Mingrong's. I softly narrated, saying, "Does your highness know how I was recognized and brought back to the Marquis estate? It was your clearing out of the corrupt officials of the Wan family within the Chaotang. And that pleasure house of my adoptive mother was precisely a stronghold where the Wan family disposed of stolen goods. On that day, the government soldiers investigated the pleasure house, and the one leading them happened to be my mother's biological elder brother, which is to say the vice minister of the Court of Judicial Review. My maternal uncle discovered I shared a striking resemblance to my mother when she was young, developed suspicions, and investigated all the way down, only then recognizing and bringing me back to the Marquis estate. Within my heart, I am very grateful to His Highness Prince Jing." Only then did Qi Mingxuan learn of this matter. He gazed at me with surprise and delight, saying, "So we already shared a destiny. By just a fraction, I would have missed you." Holding my cheeks, he kissed me gently, a kiss overflowing with heartache and remorse. When a man begins to feel heartache for you and feel remorse toward you, the distance from him falling in love with you is also not far. I did not tell Qi Mingxuan that back then the pleasure house was in a complete mess, and the adoptive mother feared I would show my face before the government soldiers, originally wishing to prevent me. At that time I only wished to escape her control quickly, hence when fettered within her embrace, by a strange combination of forces I pulled out the hairpin upon her head, plunging it into the back of her head. Afterward I fled in panic, bumping right into the embrace of the official handling the case. Only later did I learn that that vice minister of the Court of Judicial Review was my birth mother's biological elder brother. At 17 years old, I was simply carved out of the same mold as my birth mother when she was young. The vice minister of the Court of Judicial Review's efficiency in handling the case was extremely high, and very quickly I was verified to be the true young mistress of the Yong'an Marquis Household. The true young mistress possessed many things. For instance, the marriage contract with the Prince Jing estate was something I possessed since birth. I tightly embraced Qi Mingxuan, both embracing the man I had admired for a long time, and furthermore embracing my bright future. I was merely maneuvering to seize what originally belonged to me. After that day, Qi Mingxuan never again inquired about Shen Mingrong's matters. 2 days before the grand wedding, Shen Changfeng was temporarily transferred to the eastern border by the Prince Jing estate, ordered to set off immediately. Military orders were difficult to disobey. Before the sky lightened, Shen Changfeng, under the watchful escort of father and mother, joined the army with an unwilling heart. The day before the grand wedding, Shen Mingrong learned she had been arranged a marriage alliance. The maidservant intentionally spoke only half the words, and Shen Mingrong mistakenly believed the one she was to marry was Shen Changfeng. When I walked into the pavilion building, she was currently excitedly trying on the delivered wedding dress and head crown. These wedding dress ornaments are also too perfunctory. Shen Changfeng is after all the sole scion of the Marquis estate, thinking I am the female master of the Shen family. Even if time is pressing, how dare you treat me with such negligence? She scolded the maidservant who came to deliver the items, turning around only to see me. The maidservant had long since been dismissed out by me. Within the room were only the two of us, confronting each other under the light of the setting sun. The moment Shen Mingrong saw it was me, she put down the ornaments, saying, "Shen Mingxi, you still dare to come?" Smiling, I asked back, saying, "Why would I not dare? The one who did a guilty deed is not me. Lacing the drug for Shen Changfeng was done by you, right?" Shen Mingrong's eyes twitched, her gaze turning malicious. I exposed her conspiracy of that day, saying, deliberately letting him come to infuriate me, and then borrowing the name of apologizing to lead me over. Shen Changfeng caught the drug and lost his reason, and his strength is furthermore very great. So long as I entered that room, you would lock the room door from the outside. Then waiting until the timing was appropriate, you would go to alarm father and mother and Prince Jing. In this way, I would become a sinner of incest with my biological brother. Not only would father and mother loathe and cast me aside, but the marriage alliance of the Prince Jing estate would also be ruined in an instant. Sister, what a fine malicious intent. I bantered as I sized up her entire body, saying, "Know why I could easily see through your plot? Because such methods, from the time I remember things, I saw them countless times within the pleasure houses. You grew up within the Marquis estate, yet towards such despicable methods you could master them without a teacher. Worthy of being a courtesan's daughter, the same base blood flowing within your body. You dare insult me. Shen Mingrong was enraged by me, raising a palm wishing to strike me. I intercepted her wrist, and returned her a slap with a backhand. Shen Mingrong, remember, everything I have done to you is merely paying back a person with their own methods. Shen Mingrong was fanned to a distorted face by my single slap. She was humiliated to red eyes, gritting her teeth, saying, "No matter how proud you are, so what? In the future within this home, you will have to call me sister-in-law, respecting me as an elder." I looked at the person before my eyes as if looking at an idiot, suddenly covering my lips as I burst into loud laughter. "What are you laughing at?" Shen Mingrong was stirred into unease and panic by my laughter. With deep meaning, I patted her shoulder, saying nothing at all. The grand wedding day selected by the Directorate of Astronomy for Prince Jing was an impeccable, auspicious day. Shen Mingrong's marriage alliance also hitched a ride upon this auspicious day. When she was married off, the Marquis and main mistress both did not manifest their presence. Only 2 maidservants perfunctorily applied makeup for her. Up until ascending the bridal sedan, Shen Mingrong ultimately could not help but peer all around searching, saying, "Where is Shen Changfeng? Today I and he have our grand wedding. Why has he consistently not manifested his presence?" Into her field of vision suddenly burst a groom official, saying, "Wife, are you searching for me?" "Zhou Wenkai, how is it you?" Shen Mingrong recognized this scholar who reported, "Wife plays a joke. If not me, who else could it be?" Zhou Wenkai said smilingly as he led Shen Mingrong's hand, placing it by his nose to sniff, saying, "Wife, you are so fragrant." "Presumptuous." Shen Mingrong pulled away her hand, dealt Zhou Wenkai a slap in fury, saying, "Today is my grand wedding. Do you not fear Shen Changfeng expelling you from the Marquis estate? You speak of the eldest young master? He long since went to join the army, setting off the day before yesterday, and currently is already at the border." Shen Mingrong was incredulous, saying, "You talk nonsense. If he is not here, whom am I marrying?" Zhou Wenkai was startled, rubbing his hands, saying, "Does wife still not know? The person you are to marry today is me. The Marquis Lord long since betrothed you to me. Tonight is our bridal chamber candle night." Shen Mingrong widened her eyes, her face full of incredulity, saying, "Impossible, father and mother cannot possibly abandon me thus, and Shen Changfeng also dares not fail me thus. Wife has long since been thoroughly ruined in reputation. The Yong'an Marquis Household has no one willing to protect you further. Your sole destination now is to serve as the wife of me, Zhou Wenkai." "No, no. I want to see the Marquis. I want to see the main mistress." Shen Mingrong wished to flee to the front hall, yet was blocked in her path by the escorting procession. The leading old palace maid said, "The front hall is the wedding of Prince Jing and Prince Jing's consort. You, an outsider, think not to smash the Marquis estate's scene." "Outsider? I am the legitimate young mistress daughter of the Yong'an Marquis Household." The old palace maid sneered, saying, "The Yong'an Marquis Household possesses only one true young mistress, and that is Shen Mingxi. You are merely a counterfeit swapped over. The Marquis can no longer tolerate you. You are no different from an outsider. If you are discerning, sit within the bridal sedan and depart the Marquis estate. Otherwise, blame us not for taking action to expel, letting you lose all face, young lady." Shen Mingrong realized with hindsight that she had been completely abandoned by the Marquis couple. She guessed that her touching Shen Changfeng this time drew a great disaster, but previously she had also committed great mistakes, and father and mother at most would cold shoulder her for a day before coming to coax her. Why was it different this time? Why was it different? That old palace maid pierced it with a single word, saying, "Occupying the young mistress position for so long, have you forgotten you are merely a wild cuckoo occupying the nest? Pack her onto the bridal sedan for me. Do not miss the auspicious hour. The domestic servants half bound and half dragged Shen Mingrong onto the bridal sedan. She struggled and resisted, disordering the phoenix crown upon her head, and hearing the festive wind and string music of the front hall, shouted hysterically, "This is impossible. I am the young mistress of the Yong'an Marquis Household. I am Prince Jing's beloved. At worst, I can also marry the Marquis estate's legitimate son. You dare treat me thus!" Mother, your daughter is so aggrieved. How can you be so hard-hearted? How can you be so hard-hearted? The old palace maid said with impatience. Block her mouth. Zhou Wenkai personally took a cloth square, pinching Shen Mingrong's chin as he blocked her mouth, saying smilingly, "Delude yourself not with thoughts of some Marquis estate young mistress or Prince Jing's consort, those are all other people's." He patted Shen Mingrong's cheek, saying, "You match me best." Ultimately, Shen Mingrong was bound hand and foot and stuffed into the cramped bridal sedan. Only a processing team of a dozen odd people perfunctorily blew and beat, passing by the main gates of the Yong'an Marquis household. Shen Mingrong desperately poked her head out, only to see the main gates of the Marquis household decorated with lanterns and colored banners, guests like clouds, smiles and words sweet. Amidst the cheering of the crowd, Prince Jing was carefully lifting up the Marquis household young mistress covered in gold and jade, unwilling to let the consort walk even a single step, lifting her directly onto the 6-horsed canopied wedding carriage. 10 li of red dowry, the entire city fragrant and festive. Shen Mingrong wept with jealousy. This was the wedding she wanted even in her dreams. Yet currently, she could only sit within a cramped, crude bridal sedan, marrying a destitute scholar of no future. She absolutely was not reconciled. She dove and rolled out of the bridal sedan, originally wishing to draw Qi Mingshan's attention, yet her forehead struck the ground, bleeding profusely from the fall. Prince Jing, from beginning to end, did not look a single glance toward her direction. In the first year of marrying into the Prince Jing estate, I smoothly gave birth to the little heir. At the heir's full-month banquet, Shen Mingrong's 3 close friends of the past consecutively brought heavy gifts to the estate to congratulate. The commandery princess who previously mocked me praised me for being well-maintained. The young duke who humiliated me implored me to speak good words for him before Prince Jing. The young marquis who set up the Jew at Juxian restaurant to give me a hard time on that day offered tea and apologized to me privately. I sat in the same hall with them. I occupied the primary seat, while the 3 of them occupied secondary seats, each paying smiles, daring not let the scene turn cold. I casually asked a sentence, saying, "Do you all have news of Shen Mingrong recently?" The commandery princess feigned ignorance, saying, "Shen Mingrong? I have already forgotten there was such a person." The young duke paid a smile, saying, "If you ask me, a counterfeit is a counterfeit. A fake is a fake. The world will only remember the true bright pearl, who would go to remember a fake fisheye." The young marquis said guiltily. "Back then she instigated us to commit quite a few absurd things. Prince Jing's consort must absolutely not take them to heart." I drank a mouthful of tea, saying lazily, "I thought you close friends of the past would be thinking of her. Who is close friends with her? The consort must not crack jokes at us further, ha ha ha." Sitting upon the primary seat, watching these 3 people who had previously bullied me pay smiles in guilt and unease for over half an hour was indeed more interesting than watching a play. In the second year, Qi Mingshan received the enfofment of the status of heir to the throne, and I accordingly became the female master of the Eastern Palace. This was completely consistent with the trajectory of the past life. After becoming the crown princess, father and mother treated me with even more intimacy. Every time the marquis attended the early court, he would specially go before the crown prince to care about me a sentence or two. The main mistress frequently stewed tonic soups and medicines for me, wanting me to recuperate my body well after childbirth, so as to have much children and much fortune. Shen Changfeng returned from the border having established merit. Having been tempered at the cruel borderline for 2 years, this biological elder brother of mine had indeed matured and stabilized quite a bit, and had also established a not small military merit within the army, earning the enfeoffment of the position of the minor third-rank flying cavalry general. After achieving success and fame, Shen Changfeng came to the Eastern Palace to see me, apologizing for the harm he dealt me 2 years ago. I said generously, "We are blood relatives. These past matters, I will not take them to heart. And brother must also look forward, establishing greater military merits at an early date." Shen Changfeng was extremely ashamed. He proactively spoke to me, saying, "On my path of triumphant return, I passed by Kangzhou County and saw Shen Mingrong." "Oh?" She implored me to bring her back to the capital, but I did not agree. She appeared wretched in form and was not living well. "Brother feels heartache for her. Why did you not bring her back?" The consort plays a joke. Although she is loath to part with the Shen surname, she has long since ceased to be a person of the Shen family, let alone she has already married as another's wife. Moreover, on that day, my committing that kind of absurd thing was also her lacing the drug for me. I have long since cleared up. Then what is brother saying this to me for? Consort: "Sister, can you find a young lady of matching doors and households for me to marry?" Once a person tasted the flavor of power, they would no longer be entangled by matters of love and affection. Shen Changfeng currently possessed an excellent future, and naturally also harbored thoughts of leveraging a marriage alliance to rise up another level. Regrettably, he was absurd in his early years, and his reputation within the imperial city's social circle of young ladies was not good. The Yong'an Marquis Household spent painstaking effort maneuvering for over a year, before managing to find a legitimate daughter of a third-rank civil official to match Shen Changfeng. When marrying a wife, the Marquis household naturally also possessed full sincerity, lowering its posture, only then imploring for a virtuous wife to enter the door for Shen Changfeng. In the winter of the 3rd year, outside the gates of the Eastern Palace, a woman was creating a disturbance demanding to see the crown prince. At that time, Qi Mingxuan was letting the Court of Judicial Review thoroughly investigate a long-standing case of injustice, and believing it was some aggrieved party seeking out the crown prince's residence outside, he brought me along out the door to meet. Yet we saw that woman's body was hunched, and the skin exposed on the outside was entirely covered in red spots, and her forehead furthermore bore a scar. Qi Mingxuan at first glance did not even recognize the person, until that woman's eyes emitted a lascivious glint as she shouted to him, "Your Highness, it's me. I am Mingrong." Qi Mingxuan appeared as if he had eaten a fly. Verifying it was not an aggrieved party coming to seek help, he led my hand, saying softly, "Chang'er was just now clamoring for father to hold him. I will go coax the child first. Go, this matter I will handle." Across 3 years of being husband and wife, Qi Mingxuan already understood my character thoroughly. He did not ask further, merely gathering the fox fur cloak upon my body closer for me, saying, "Do not catch a chill, and do not waste too much thoughts for this kind of person." I grasped back his hand, saying, "I understand." Qi Mingxuan lingered with me for a while, before ignoring Shen Mingrong, stepping straight back inside the estate. "Your Highness, I am Mingrong. I am Mingrong." "Stop shouting. Shen Mingrong, even if you turn to ash, I recognize you." Shen Mingrong glared toward me, the hatred and resentment within that gaze heavier than the winter's great snow. Yet she softened her posture, saying, "Sister, I beg you to bestow a bit of charity upon me. My days truly can no longer be lived." Immediately following that, she began to complain to me about how Zhou Wenkai ate, drank, gambled, and womanized, and how he sucked her marrow and drank her blood. I truly had no method. I intercepted brother's military procession, yet he directed a blind eye toward me. I implored to the Yong'an Marquis household again, yet the Marquis household closed its doors and refused to see me. I could only come to the Eastern Palace to beg you, sister. Sister, previously it was all your sister's fault. I beg you to save your sister, casually rewarding me with something, so long as it can let me establish a footing within the imperial city. I walked near to her, casually pulling out a golden hairpin upon my hairbun, asking, "Is this hairpin sufficient?" While flatteringly nodding her head, Shen Mingrong stretched out her hand to receive the golden hairpin. However, At the instant she touched the golden hairpin, she suddenly turned the hairpin head and tail around, preparing to plunge the sharpest end toward my heart. Yet before the golden hairpin could injure me a fraction, Shen Mingrong was kicked to the ground by the Eastern Palace guards. Her body these years had been tortured out of shape, and after being kicked down, climbing back up was extremely laborious. I rose, looking down upon her. Sister, these years have been lived very much against your wishes, right? Grasping that golden hairpin, Shen Mingrong raised her head to curse me, saying, "This completely is incorrect." It was not like this within the dream. Within the dream, the one serving as the crown princess was me, and the one turning into a deserted woman was you, Shen Mingxi. It's you. It's you who snatched my fortune. Originally all of this glory and wealth was mine. The Marquis household young mistress was mine. Prince Jing's consort was mine, and the crown prince was also mine. Seeing such actions of hers, I then guessed she already possessed the memories of the past life. When did you think of it? Shen Mingrong touched the scar upon her forehead, confronting my gaze, saying, 3 years ago, on the day I married off, I broke my forehead from the fall, and then thought of it all. Excellent, I said with a smile. I was precisely afraid you would fail to think of it. These 3 years, you must have been thinking that everything I possess should have been yours. And on what basis did I snatch everything from you? You must have been extremely painful, every night unreconciled to the point of being unable to sleep, and during the day just thinking of it could anger you to the point of vomiting blood. Although the person is alive, you are suffering the torment of the infinite hell, is it not? Shen Mingrong gazed at me in horror. I had practically guessed all of her mental journeys. As for why I would be so clear? Because I had also personally experienced it, clearly being the true young mistress, yet living 18 years of base days. I wanted Shen Mingrong to be clear about what she once possessed, and then snatch all of her things back. Only in this way was it the premier penalty of destroying the heart. Does sister possess the courage, like the me of the past life, to murder your husband and escape? Seeing Shen Mingrong's panicked expression, I then knew she dared not. Which is to say, Zhou Wenkai is still alive. This is also fine. I will dispatch someone to send sister back to Zhou Wenkai's side. After all, this marriage alliance of yours was furthermore brought together by my golden words. Shen Mingrong violently raised her head, crying, "It's you? It's you who pushed me into such a fiery pit." She thought of something, shrinking her body, and imploring again, saying, do not send me back to Zhou Wenkai's side. My life is worse than death. My life is worse than death." She suddenly picked up the golden hairpin upon her hand, and upon the golden hairpin was carved a lifelike wealthy peony. She stared at the peony and burst into laughter. She even in her dreams wished to put on this kind of crown princess-style golden hairpin. Her gaze transformed, and she suddenly grasped the golden hairpin as she plunged it down toward her own heart. The guards understood not the reason. Yet I saw it clearly. Shen Mingrong thought of the husband and wife affection with Qi Mingxuan in the past life, and actually believed that in this lifetime Qi Mingxuan also must still hold a lingering affection toward her, and would absolutely not disregard her life and death. The plunge she made toward her heart was not deep, merely flowing out a bit of blood, before she fell extremely pitiably into the snow, murmuring within her mouth, saying, Your Highness, Mingrong hurts so much, Your Highness." I withdrew the guards, telling the crowd to disregard her. When I returned to the orchid chamber, Qi Mingshan was currently hoisting the 3-year-old Cheng'er up to his neck, letting him ride a great horse. Cheng'er used his small hands to grasp his father's ears, laughing with a giggling sound. Seeing me arrive, the father and son stopped their frolicking smilingly. I told him, saying, Shen Mingrong stabbed herself with a knife, falling into the snow calling your name, waiting for you to go save her. Qi Mingxian said, What are you saying this to me for? Come take a look. I today hand in hand taught Cheng'er to write words. What words? Here. Now. I was guided by the father and son to the front of the desk, only to see right at the center of the Xuan paper upon the desk, a twisted, childish, shy character. It is the name of Cheng'er's mother. Mother, mother. Cheng'er clapped his hands, wanting me to hold him. I hastily picked him up, kissing him again and again, saying, Cheng'er is truly powerful. Qi Mingxuan competed for favor aside, saying, What about me? Is Cheng'er's father powerful or not? Powerful, powerful. I perfunctorily gave Qi Mingxuan a reward kiss as well, and he on the contrary embraced me and refused to let go. Within the study drifted the laughter and joy of a family of 3. At dawn the next day, a woman froze to death outside the gates of the Eastern Palace and was perfunctorily buried by the guards. When I was 10 years old, my adoptive mother once said to me that if I did not learn arts well to please the guests, in the future I would freeze to death in the great snow days. She told me not to compare with the young mistress ladies. Other people's future days were gold and jade filling the hall, and the lute and harp in harmony. Everything was spoken correctly. The young mistress is me, and the crown princess is me. Gold and jade filling the hall is mine, and the lute and harp in harmony is also mine. The one who froze to death in the great snow days was only her own daughter, the fake young mistress who occupied the nest. In this lifetime, the misaligned life each returned to its position. The bright pearls shone anew, and the phoenix bird returned to its nest.